There's a concept I've been thinking about a lot lately, which is the way that we play a video game is the way that we approach life. When you think about a video game, it is a simulated virtual world, and part of it is that it is an escape from the real world. You can just relax and just have fun and mess around, and a lot of people treat video games that way. But because of that, because there are no rules, there's no specific way you need to play the game, I think it frees a lot of people to actually express themselves in ways that they might not actually feel comfortable expressing in real life. And the more I thought about this idea and the more I've talked about it with friends, I've kind of identified three main personas, let's say, around the way people play video games and how that reflects in life, and then the challenges that each of those personas face. Now, this is really just my opinion. Of course, there may be more personas, and if there are any others, if this idea resonates with you and you have a persona in your mind, I'd love to hear it. Please let me know in the comments. The first persona that I identified is the speedrunner. So in video games, there's this subculture of people that want to beat the game as fast as possible. They want to set literally world records. And oftentimes these people will exploit the game. They will take advantage of bugs or glitches in the game, and they're going to skip past all of the optional content, of course, in order to beat the game as fast as they can. And I liken this to people in professional careers who want to climb the ladder as fast as they can. That can obviously mean, climbing the ranks within an organization, so getting promoted super fast from a level 1 engineer to level 7 at Facebook. But it can also really just be reflected in your financial well-being, right? In your salary. A lot of people pursue a higher salary at all costs. They're willing to work at a company for like 6 to 12 months and then hop to another company just for that, 5 to 10% pay jump, even if that means reflecting poorly on their relationships or what have you. There's also an interesting connection here in that speedrunners are often missing out on a lot of the optional content. And I think similarly, if you rush through your career, if you want to climb the ranks as fast as you can, sure, you might make more money earlier on and when you're younger, but you're going to miss out on a lot of other aspects in your life, right? You might actually sacrifice your health, your relationships. You might work on weekends and late so that you can impress your boss and get that promotion a little bit sooner. And so I think the big risk or pitfall that speedrunners need to look out for is exactly that. Are you sacrificing something in your life that you shouldn't be just for performance at work? Because work will always be there, but your health won't always be there. Your family won't always be there. And that's a lesson I had to learn early on in my career. I mean, just to share personally, I've talked about in the past how I worked in B2B tech, and I worked primarily in startups. And at every startup I was at, I was hungry to move on to the next thing. I wanted to push. And that can be really rewarding in some ways, especially financially, but it can also be a detriment to other aspects of your life. So that's what I would recommend if you find yourself in that category of speedrunner and you want to be mindful of that as you grow into your career. And by the way, there's no right or wrong answer here. There's no persona that's better than another, but I think it is helpful to reflect on which of these personas you might fall into, and if there's anything you want to change, if there's anything that you are recognizing in your own behavior that you think is not optimal for the life that you want to live. The second persona I'd call kind of the casual gamer, right? If you bought the old Nintendo Power magazine back in the day, you get the guide on how to beat the game, and you play the game as it's intended. Arguably this cohort of people, this persona, are probably the most content with life. They're happy with their 9-to-5 job. They're not pushing themselves particularly hard to get a promotion or to get that next pay bump. Of course, they'd be happy about that, right? Who wouldn't? But they're not burning the candle at both ends. They have a relatively balanced life. They probably have pretty good relationships, and they take care of their health. They have good exercise habits, and their job is a single component within a broader lifestyle that they've built. And I actually envy these people in a way. I think that if you feel comfortable in that environment and in, say, a 9-to-5 job, then you can actually have a very fulfilling life and you won't be super stressed out and all of these benefits. Unfortunately, I just found myself, my natural personality was always antsy for more. I needed to push myself beyond. I didn't like the idea of being average, even if average was perfectly fine. And again, I I just share this openly because perhaps some of you resonate with this as well. I think the risk for casual gamers or the people that are perfectly content with a 9-to-5 is that they're going to be most at risk if there is an economic downturn. Firstly, casual gamers are more likely to work at the bigger, comfier jobs, and when those big, large organizations do mass layoffs, it's likely going to impact, underperformers, of course, but also average performers. If you are an above average performer, if you were in that first group of speedrunners, you're probably more protected in the case of a big economic downturn or a recession. So, to put it simply, average can be great as long as average is good. But when average becomes bad because the whole world is, in trouble, then that's when this persona might struggle. So if I were in this camp, as I mentioned, my personality doesn't really fit this camp. But if I were you, I would just make sure you have enough of a nest egg saved away, you have an emergency fund, you have your skills and your resume up to date in case you do need to find another job, and you should be pretty well set. I don't think there's a lot of risks for this category, quite frankly. And then last but not least is the category that I find myself in, which is what I like to call the completionist. When I play video games, I like to collect every single collectible. I like to look for every little hidden secret. And I love that. I love the hoarding aspect of a game. I like to find all the little intricacies. But one of the risks of this approach is, one, it sometimes delays me from my main quest, right? So I'll progress through the game slower than not just the speedrunner, but also the casual gamer. But also I can tend to get distracted by side quests. I have so much fun pursuing these side goals that it might actually pull me away from the more important things. And so I have to always exercise judgment to ask myself, literally every day when I wake up, am I focusing on the right thing today? And at the end of the day, I have to ask myself, did I focus on the right thing? The benefit to this group is I believe that the people that are completionists in video games, you are the most likely to be entrepreneurs, right? You're dissatisfied with the 9-to-5 grind, and it's not that you want to climb it faster like the speedrunner. You just disagree with the whole paradigm of the main story. You want to go do other quests. And I think that, of course, entrepreneurship is not for everyone, right? The vast majority of businesses fail, but the entrepreneurs that do make it, that persist, and they do keep trying side quest after side quest until they find the thing that they love, they can really have an incredibly fulfilling life, well past, in my opinion, what the speedrunner or the casual gamer can achieve. The big challenge is getting through that hump, getting through that slog of learning every single intricacy of the game and trying everything out. Seth Godin refers to this as the dip, right? Or you might have heard content creators call this cringe mountain, right? You just have to keep working through this long slog of a period where things aren't working until one day it does. And then one day everyone looks at you and thinks that you're some overnight success, but they didn't see all of the work that you put in to figure out every single secret in the video game. So this was a bit more of a different style of video. It's more of a video essay, if you will. I'm curious if you people like it. These are more unorganized thoughts, less editing, but I think it's relevant to the channel. As mentioned, Wealth Potion is all about teaching you personal finance and wealth building topics, but in a fun and easy way, and oftentimes with video game analogies. And I think this is a really powerful one because, again, I didn't necessarily recognize these things about my personality until I analyzed how I play games. And in fact, I have some good friends that will point this out to me and say, hey, Brandon, you love doing these side quests in video games. And that's what made me reflect on how I'm living my actual life, not just my video game life. So hopefully this is helpful to you. I'd love to hear from you. And as I mentioned, I could have missed some big personas out there or other types and styles of playing video games. So yeah, let me know, post in the comments, let's start a discussion. And as always, I really appreciate you watching this all the way through, and I'll see you next time.